Hello everyone. I welcome you all to the session 9 of Unit 5 Coding and Testing of Software Engineering. In the previous session, we discussed about errors, faults and the failures, and we also got to know that what is the difference between these three. And in order to deal with errors, we discussed about the test cases and the test suits to how to identify these errors. In this particular session, we are going to discuss about the topic psychology of testing and levels of testing. Introduction to psychology of testing. Generally, psychology means a mindset of a people. Here, the mindset of a developer or the tester, we can say. So, usually, the developer will always have a mindset that whatever he has developed in the program is always right, and he always wants to prove that his programs work for all the conditions that are given. So, this is a general human tendency that we are never ready to accept any of our faults. So, here we discuss how we can deal with the psychology of the tester. Psychology of testing is a type of testing which depends on the mindset of developers and the tester. Why we have to go through the psychology means usually testing is a destructive process where it identifies the faults and problems in the software that we have developed. When somebody identifies our faults and errors, definitely it will affect the psychology of a developer. So we'll see how to deal with this. So usually the aim of the testing is to demonstrate that the program works by showing that it has no error. Usually the developer will always have a mindset that the program that he has developed has no error. At any point, he has to prove that the program works properly for all the conditions given. But basically, during the testing phase, we have to think in a reverse way, because the basic purpose here is to detect the errors that are present in the program. Detecting the errors is in the early stage is very much important, because if you have not recognized the errors, that will be carried out in the further development stages of the software. Usually, in order to identify the errors, the software under test, that is, we call it as SUT, is executed with a set of test cases. In order to identify the errors, we'll create a set of test cases and be sure that the test cases what we are developing will not guarantee that all the errors that are present in the software will be detected. That is, we cannot assure that even though we are developing a very good set of test cases, we cannot ensure that or make sure that all the errors will be detected. That is why we can make use of a thumb rule for deciding the test cases, selecting the test cases, and this will become a creative activity which completely depends on the tester. Since no test cases or no set of test cases will guarantee a complete elimination of the errors, we can make use of a thumb rule depending upon the each person, where this thumb rule clearly depends upon the creative thinking or the different way of approaching that is done by a tester during the testing process. Since it is a creative activity, a psychology of the person who are performing the testing becomes a very important job, because his psychology mainly affects the quality of the software. One should not start testing with the intent of showing that a program works. This is usually done by a developer. Developer has always have a tendency to prove that whatever the software that he has developed with no errors, and it will work completely for all the conditions, for all the input gives. But usually the psychology of the testing says that the every program or the every software we build, we should build a such a intent that a program does not work to reveal any defect that may exist. So we usually start with the intention that the program will not work or some defects may existing in the system. That is why we call testing is essentially a destructive process. That is, it is always have a negative impact or negative role in the development of a software. The tester has to treat the program with an intention of showing the presence of errors. The main objective of the tester is to check the program for the presence of error. But the psychology of the developer goes like the program he has developed is always right, but the tester has to check all the aspects with an intention of showing the errors. While presenting these errors, the tester may be very gentle and polite. It should not hurt any individual. Levels of testing. As I said, no set of test cases will completely eliminate all the errors which are present in the software. We have to conduct different levels of testing. The code contains requirement defects, design defects, and the coding defects. We know that testing can be done at all the stages of software development lifecycle. That is, it may be done at the requirement stage, or it may be done at the design, or it may be at the coding, or it may be at the architecture level. So what happens is we can identify the defects at each and every level. So since it contains a different level, the nature of defects is different for the different injection stages. Since there will be a different stages, we cannot rely on only one level of testing. That is, this is a testing that is sufficient. So no such testing is proved that this type of testing is enough to ensure that everything is fine. So only one type of testing will be unable to detect the different types of errors or the defects at the different stages. Since a cycle contains different levels and the different stages, there may be a defects at the different stages. So the right approach here is to develop different levels of testing that are used to uncover these defects. So while identifying these defects, we can ensure the quality of the software will be good. Now we'll see how we can categorize these levels of testing. Basically, there are four testing levels usually defined. Number one, we call it as a unit testing. Number two, we call it as an integration testing. Number three, we call it as a system testing. Number four, we call it as an acceptance testing. So we'll see how exactly this testing will be done at the different levels. Yeah, this is how we can represent the different levels of testing. If you could see, there is a first level of testing, that is unit testing. After that, we are doing integration testing. After that, we are doing system testing. After that, we are going to acceptance testing. This is the arrow mark indication that this is the beginning level and this is the ending level. And here also we are indicating that at what level we are doing these kinds of testing. As we know that unit testing was usually done at the code, usually done at the modules. So this integration testing will be done during the design stage, and the system testing is done to check whether all the requirements have been completely undergone or not, all the requirements are completely satisfied or not. And at the last, acceptance testing is done at the client needs or the client position that the software that we have developed is fine and it is working well in the client place also. So this is a diagram which gives different levels of testing that is done at the different level. The first testing we have is unit testing. Here, the different modules tested separately. We know that our software we are going to develop will be divided into a different modules. Since it is an very big approach, what we are doing is the entire software will be divided into a different modules, and these different modules will be developed by independent team so that we can work on the different modules parallelly and we can do the work fastly. So unit testing means all these developed different modules by the different teams will be tested separately. Here the focus is to find the defects that are injected during the coding. That is, the modules that are developed by a developer will be having the defects. That defects we have to identify during the unit testing. Since the main step we are doing is a verification of the code that is developed by the developer, we call the unit testing as a code verification technique. Each and every lines of the code will be verified usually by developer. So we say that unit testing is closely associated with the coding. Since the coding is done by the developer, frequently the programmer or the developer will do this unit testing. That is why we call a coding phase is sometimes is also called as a coding and the unit testing. Here the main thing is to identify the modules, and we are doing the testing for each and every modules, and this is usually done by the developer side. Integration testing. We know that in order to make a program or a software, we have to integrate the different kinds of modules that has been developed in the earlier stage. So this joining of these modules technically called as integration of the modules to make it as working. So this integration will also called, it makes a subsystem. So integration testing focuses on interaction of modules in a system. That is, before the integration, all these modules will be independent of each other. So what we should do is, in the integration testing, we have combined these modules. For example, if module 1 is tested in the unit testing, if the module 2 is tested in the unit testing, the module 1 and the module 2 has to be combined together to start with the integration testing. That is, it says unit tested modules combine to form a subsystems. It says that different modules of the already tested by a unit testing should be combined to form a subsystems. So in order to do the integration testing, we have to write the test cases. So test cases to exercise the interaction of modules in the different ways. We have to make sure that these modules have interacted together, and we have to write the test cases to make sure that there will be no error in the connection of module 1 and the module 2. But sometimes these integration testing may be skipped if it contains too many modules and it is very difficult to manage. That is why when the system is too large, few of the applications may skip the integration testing. And the third level of testing we have is system testing. As the name itself indicates, here the entire software system is tested. The main focus here is to check, does the software implement the requirements. As I said in the beginning with the diagram, in the system testing, it clearly says that whether the software that we have developed contains all the requirements. Is our developed software working according to the requirements specified in the SRS? So we check each and every aspect that everything is fine according to the requirement that is specified in the early stage of the development of the software. So validation exercise for the system with respect to the requirements. We have to do the validation. We have to check for the system with respect to the requirements. Generally, we have a requirement document. We have to validate or check whether the system is satisfying all the specified requirements. Generally, we say system testing is a final stage before the actual software is delivered to the client place. So this is a final stage that we have to do before sending the software to a client place. Usually this system testing can be done by the independent people, as we discussed in the psychology of the testing. If it is done by the same people who are developed, generally they have a tendency to prove that the system what they have developed is right and it works for all the conditions given. So in order to avoid those kind of conflict, this system testing usually done by the independent people or the separate people of the company. Once it is identified, usually the defects will be removed by the developers. So since it keep on continuous till almost all the defects are completely removed, the system testing phase consumes more time because it may contain many modules, it may contain many complex interfaces. So it is a very difficult to test as a final product. So usually the testing phase, the system testing phase will consume more time when compared to the other levels of testing. Acceptance testing. As the name itself indicates that acceptance testing is a testing that is done at the client place. The main intention of this is the system or the software that we have developed should be accepted by the client side, because our main intention is to satisfy the needs of the client. So the focus here is to check, does the software satisfies the user needs? That is our client completely satisfied the way we have done the software? This is usually generally done by the end users or the customers in the customer environment with the real data. Since before all the testers have been done, usually the all other levels of testing is done in the company itself or the developer place or maybe separate team in the their company itself. But in this acceptance testing will be generally done in the client place or the customer place. That is why we have to make sure that the system or the software what we have developed is completely works fine in the client place as well. Only after the successful acceptance testing software is deployed. The final step is to deploy the software in the client place. Usually the deployment will be done only after the successfully done the acceptance testing. So while doing the acceptance testing, there will be a team of developers and there will be a team of client or the end users. They'll have a meeting, they'll have a general discussion while doing this testing. After this end of the testing, all the any defects are found, they'll be removed by the developers and updated the same to the end user, so that the end user will again test at their end and they'll close the particular defect if it is done. Usually, this acceptance test plan is based on the acceptance test criteria in the SRS. So, how we can say that this particular acceptance test is a success or a failure? Because this can be done with the help of the criteria that is usually done in the SRS. So, in the SRS, there will be a criteria set. That particular criteria says whether the acceptance test is a success or a failure. So it's when it is a success, then particular acceptance test is done and we can proceed with the next defect. So these are the basic 4 levels of testing that generally be done at the every projects With that, we cannot conclude that only these levels of testing is sufficient for all the projects or the system that we are developing. So there could be a chances of other form of testing requirement also. Here we discussed one such other form of testing is regression testing. So we'll see what is a regression testing. Regression testing is a one that can be done when there is a frequent changes that are made to a system. We all know that the requirement specification of a software will be keep on changing till the last stage of the development. So what happens is usually this regression testing is done to check that all the functionality works right. What happens few times is when we do some changes in the module 1 and the module 2, there will be some problem occurring in the module 3 that we have not taken care. So while doing the regression testing, we can make sure that functionality of all the modules are perfectly all right, even though the changes are made to a particular module. If some module changes, there might be a chances of it might affect the other module also. So while doing the regression testing, we say that it proves the functionalities works all right, and it also very important when the changes are made. As I said, at the till the last stage of the development, there will be a keep changing. So whenever the changes are made to the software, it is very much essential to do the testing called the regression testing. So in order to do this regression testing, we can also make use of our previous records. So when we have the previous records, we can do the comparisons between the present results and the previous results, so that if there is any changes, we can do the modify or we can rectify the errors at a particular stage. Prioritization of test cases needed when complete test suite cannot be executed for a change. As I said, if there is some 10 modules, small changes are made to only to the module 4 and the module 5. In such cases, there is no need to execute the test cases for all the 1 to 10 modules. What we can do is, since we have made a changes in only module 4 and the module 5, we can prioritize the test cases, so that it will save the time and it will make a work little fast. So by prioritizing or by considering only best test cases, we can execute a particular module and make sure that it has not affected the any other modules. With this, we have a knowledge how we can do the testing at the different levels by considering the different scenarios. With this, we will try to solve few of the questions. First question, testing is defined as option A, the process of executing a program with the intent of finding errors. The process of executing a program with the intent of proving correct. Option C, both of the above. Option D, none of the above. We know that testing is also called as a destructive process, where it helps in executing a program with the intent of finding the errors. Its main intention is to find the errors which are present in the program. So the best suitable answer is option A. Question number 2. When would the testing have been stopped? This is a very good question, because there is no such rule existing in the SDLC that when we can stop the testing. We'll see which is the best option here. Option A, when all the tests run. Option B, when the faults have been fixed. Option C, when the time completed. Option D, when all the risks are resolved. It is very difficult to say that when we can stop the testing, because testing all the test cases will not make sure that all the errors have been fixed, or we cannot say that all the faults have been fixed, and the time constraint we cannot take it as an granted. So the better way to stop is when all the risk are resolved, or 90% of the risk that are involved in the project are resolved, we can make a decision that yeah, this is the best time to stop the testing. So the best option here is when all the risks are resolved. Question 3. Which of the following is a form of functional testing? Option A, security level testing. Option B, boundary level analysis. Option C, performance testing. Option D, usability testing. So the security level testing, performance testing, and the usability testing all forms a form of functional testing, but usually the boundary level analysis will not be done at the functional level. So the best suitable answer here is option B, that is boundary value analysis. Question number 4. When reporting faults found to developers, testers should be option A, polite and helpful, option B, diplomatic, option C, sensitive and insisting that a bug is not a feature if it should be fixed. Option D, all of the above. So this clearly indicates the psychology of the developer and the testers. So what it says that whenever we have identified the faults of the others, how we can tell them. So generally we should be polite and helpful, or we should not be targeting type, we should be diplomatic and sensitive, because we have to understand their position and being sensitive, and we should say that it is not such a big bug when it is feature, it's a fixed, and all of the above. So we should be very polite, diplomatic and sensitive while considering the errors of the faults of the others. So the best suitable option here is option D, all of the above. Question number 5. Select which of the below is not a fundamental test process. Option A, test planning. Option B, requirement analysis. Option C, implementation and the execution. Option D, evaluating the test criteria and the reporting. So during the testing process, we'll do the planning. After the planning, we'll implement and execute that particular planning. After the execution, evaluation of whatever the test cases we have done in the planning also matters a lot. But usually, requirement analysis will not be included under the test process. So the best suitable option here is requirement analysis. That is option B. Question number 6. What is the order in which the test levels are performed? Option A, unit, integration, system, acceptance. Option B, unit, system, integration, acceptance. Option C, unit, integration, acceptance, system. Option D, it depends on nature of a project. In this session, we discussed the different levels of testing. How we categorized into a level means first we did the unit testing, next we discussed about integration testing, and then we moved on to the system testing, and finally we discussed the acceptance testing. So this is the order we discussed, but generally how we can do is it purely depends upon the nature of the project, what we are doing. So it is not mandatory to follow the same levels of testing at the every time. Depending upon the nature of the project, we can do or we can select any of the orders. So the best suitable option here is, that is option D. It depends upon the nature of the project. Question number 7. A software tester should be involved very early during the development of a project. Option A, true. Option B, false. Any guesses? Yeah, usually generally thinking what we think is the testing will be coming at the last stage of the development. So we generally have a tendency to think that the tester might involved in the last stage of the project, but that is a misconception or a wrong way of thinking that the tester should be involved in the very early stages, that is during the development stage itself, so that there will be much clarity to do his work in the project. So the best suitable here answer here is option A, that is true. We have to make him involved in the very early stage of the development. Question number 8. System testing is a option A, black box testing. Option B, white box testing. C, gray box testing. Option D, both A and B. We know that system testing is nothing but checking the correctness of the system, whether the system works properly or not. This we call it as a black box testing, means testing. Why? Because we are not knowing about the any implementation details of the programs. Only we are checking that whether the particular feature of a software that is defined in the SRS is working fine or not. We are not going with the in-depth any implementation details. So we generally call a system as a black box testing, where we check only the feature of the software but not the implementation details of the modules that has been developed under the software. Question number 9. Verifying that whether software components are functioning correctly and identifying the defects in them as an objective of which level of testing? Option A, integrating testing. Option B, acceptance testing. Option C, unit testing. Option D, system testing. We know that identification, the development and verifying the software components, all the things will come during the very beginning of the test process, that nothing but the unit testing. We know that identification of the components will be done in the coding of the first stage, that is it is usually done with the help of unit testing. So the best suitable answer here is option C, unit testing. Question number 10. Who is responsible for component testing? Option A, software tester. Option B, designer. Option C, user. Option D, developer. In the previous question itself, we got to know that usually the component testing or the code testing will be done by the developer at the very beginning stage. So the best suitable option here we have is a developer. So developer is the one, or we can also call it as a coder, who does the component testing at the very beginning to check that all the components, the design is been working fine. Thank you.